Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 44 of the Push Podcast. This is the podcast for senior marketers who want to up their stakeholder management, listen to strategy talk, or simply feel seen. I'm your host, Jack Ferguson. I'm a brand consultant with over 15 years experience in marketing across more than 20 industries. Today's episode's a solo one. I do solo episodes in between the fortnightly discussions I have with other senior marketers, as this format allows me to share a shorter story, explore a topic more deeply, or just give you something in between the fortnightly discussions. So today I wanted to talk about a specific topic, and that being referrals and referrals when growing a brand. And if you're anything like me, you much prefer referrals rather than having to fight and scratch for every single sale. It's much better to do a good job with your customers and have them refer more people, especially as a small and medium-sized brand. That's my point of view. There are other ways to grow, but I always like to have a referral element to my growth. I'll note that I'm talking about more considered purchases here, so think higher priced B2C products and services or B2B services and products. No impulse buys necessarily. And the motivation for this episode actually came to me from the problem I was having with my consultancy. I wasn't getting many referrals at all, and it was very frustrating to me. I was wondering why this was happening. My clients were really happy with my work, so why weren't they spreading the word? Why weren't they referring me? I asked them, naturally, and they said they do talk about me to others, but yeah, I hadn't had any referrals from it. So what was going on? So I did what I tell others to do, and I started looking at buying behavior. And that uncovered a few interesting things for me. So my brand refresh services generally take a few months to do. I can't work with a lot of customers at a time because each project's quite large and the amount of brain power each one consumes, there's just a limit on how many I can do. So this means I don't have a whole lot of customers. I have less customers who spend more with me. The principle of customers is low. Couple this with another factor that I like to look at, and unfortunately missed it my own consultancy on this occasion, but usually I will look at that with clients, and that is the intra-purchase period of a service or product. So if you're unfamiliar with that term, intra-purchase, I-N-T-R-A purchase, it's the time it takes in between purchases for the same customer to buy again. So an example would be Sarah buying coffee on Monday and then again on Thursday. Her intra-purchase period is 3 days for that cycle. For a brand refresh, for my service, the intra-purchase period after I did a bit of digging is anywhere between 7 and 10 years typically. So that's a long period of time between when a brand will refresh. So if I wanted referrals, I would need one of my small pool of ex-customers to happen to stumble across someone who is in that 1 in 7 year or 1 in 10 year window to be able to recommend me. So I consider this a mistake of my service portfolio and not really a mistake of execution on my part. So that may be okay if I wasn't relying on referrals, because you'd know to compensate by promoting accordingly, but I wasn't doing that. And in my case, I'd prefer to engineer the business for referrals anyway. So when it comes to referrals, what would I look for a client? The three things I generally do look at are the referral rate they currently have. So in other words, how many referrals do you receive from a customer on average? The principal number of customers they have, and the intra-purchase period for their products and services. So if the intra-purchase period is a long period of time and you're a smaller brand or maybe a mid-sized brand, you need to consider the likelihood that your existing pool of customers is just not coming across many people that are needing your service at that moment. So for me, the fix was to introduce services that had a lower intra-purchase period. In other words, services that are more likely to come up in conversations between peers in the short term because it's a more frequent problem that's experienced. So instead of asking myself, how do I better promote what I have? The question was actually, how do I best engineer my service or product portfolio where we consider intra-purchase periods, referral rates, and the principle of customers we currently have? I will add another experience I've had on the end of this. So if you are wanting people to refer you, I think it's better to give them category entry points to look out for. I think this is especially clear when you're a knowledge worker or you are offering a more considered purchase where it's not always obvious why they should come and work with you. I'll take an example of a coach I spoke to recently. Now, this person, he works with executives, and the time to take on an executive coach isn't exactly black and white, right? Like, it's not like a Band-Aid that you get, you have to buy it when you get a cut on your leg. It's not that clear a moment necessarily. So the temptation I notice with a lot of people is that they tend to say our products or services, help executives to focus and reduce their stress and enjoy their work again. The problem is that no one's going to say that, say at a party. If an executive's sitting around with their friends, they're unlikely to say, I need help to focus, reduce my stress, and enjoy my work again. So instead, I think it's better to focus on the category entry points, the things that they are more likely to say, what is happening in someone's life that means your product or service is the right one to refer. It might be more like saying to people, if you notice someone around you who's had a promotion recently, they're an executive and they're not coping with their job, that's a great time to refer me. It's much clearer. You're much more likely to be able to see that in someone else, someone who's armed with that, who may refer you. And in this case, that's something that the coach could say to the people around him. If you notice this, then refer me. Just make sure it's a category entry point, not solution-based necessarily. So that's all for this week. Thanks for listening. I will be in your ears again in a week's time.